How's it going on, guys? This is Mo speaking to you, and alongside of me is a very, very special guest. So I'm not going to introduce him. And how about you introduce yourself, my good sir?
So you don't know how to pronounce my name, so
Yeah.
you're going to let me introduce
Exactly.
myself.
I mean, you said it's
Okay.
Yunani, right? So
Okay.
I'm not going to gamble there.
Well, it's not too difficult. My name is Bill, which is
All right.
also William, but
Yeah,
Bill is the
William, yeah.
informal name. Megalos. And
Megalos.
Megalos, yes.
Right.
And I was born in New York, but I live in Los Angeles now. I'm a filmmaker. My specialty is documentary films, although I've done dramatic films as well.
Right.
And I've filmed in about 60 countries. And I did a lot of work for the BBC. And I'm also a film instructor. And I love doing workshops. I love doing short-term workshops because they can be very intensive and you can learn a lot in a short period of time.
Right. So you said you were born in New York.
I was
right?
born in New York,
So
Brooklyn.
Is nice. So is English your only language?
Well, I speak French. I speak Greek. Greek is I spoke Greek as a baby.
Right.
But, yeah,
I
some
did a
Greek,
little.
and
I did a little
pretty
research.
well. I do pretty well in Spanish too. I work in a lot of Spanish countries.
That's amazing. Well, we'll get to the Greek part because I did do a little of my homework.
Okay.
And I saw that you speak perfect Greek, actually.
I don't say perfect. No Greek would say I said perfectly. I'm fluent.
Well,
I'm
okay, fluent.
Okay,
Well, to
fluent.
me, it's perfect. So
Yeah.
we'll get to that later
Okay,
because I'm
all
gonna
right.
need something out of this. All right.
Okay.
So, speaking of the subjects that you addressed, okay, in your sessions, what result do you anticipate from your visit?
Okay, so this is a short visit for me. It's only 3 days, 2 workshops one day, longer workshops the other day.
Right.
I'm trying to, like I say, my work is mostly nonfiction, and I try to tell people's stories, and I'm helping people to tell other people's stories, to give voice to people who don't really have voices.
Amazing.
And using the best techniques for that. So teaching people how to interview people well so that they are comfortable and you're getting what you need so they can really express themselves. But also we did a workshop on vertical filmmaking, on basically using your camera vertically for TikToks and social media and the best practices for social media. And how to really make that adjustment, because throughout our history, we were, looking at the world through horizontally. And what does it mean to change this whole look into seeing the world vertically? Yeah. And so looking into the background, how we psychologically look at that and what it means. So those are the, hopefully the people who took some of these workshops, they will use these techniques and use this different understanding in their work. And most important, I'd like to inspire people to make films, people who aren't already making films.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's already happening, because I mean, I saw the way people were interacting with you just a couple minutes ago. I mean, I loved it, really. Yeah. So now, how would you describe the level of collaboration between U.S. and Iraqi filmmakers?
Well, a little bit of my history. This is actually my 3rd trip to Baghdad. And I did a program for the State Department before where we took 6 filmmakers from here. I trained them a little bit, and then took them to Los Angeles. They had a course at UCLA. They got a certificate from there. Then they came back here and made films.
Great.
And those films did very well. 2 of them got into big festivals. One of them won a prize at the Berlin Film Festival.
Wow.
And another one got a special prize in Tribeca. So I've stayed in touch with those filmmakers. In fact, I'm teaching a workshop in Jordan with one of those filmmakers, Salam Salman. So the collaboration, there's only kind of my personal collaboration and staying in touch with people, but how much interest is there in, I don't, there is one Iraqi filmmaker who's living in Los Angeles now. The way the question is posed, it's hard for me to really answer that. I know that I'm very interested in the work here, and I support the Iraqi filmmakers as much as I can. And that's why it's really been a pleasure to come back here.
Well, thank you. The pleasure is all ours, trust me. So you said you traveled 60 plus countries, right?
Yeah.
What inspired you to choose Iraq out of all those 60s?
Well, as I was just saying in my previous answer, I have a personal connection here with people, and you know, when you do one of these workshops, it's pretty hard to make a direct connection between Iraqis living in Iraq and Americans living in America.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty hard to cross that barrier there. So I just, like I said, I had such a profound experience here last time that I definitely wanted to revisit. And last night I saw some of the filmmakers I worked with last time, and it was very, very, very moving. And you know, this is a big world, and sometimes you really connect with people, and you never know if you're going to see them again. So to be able to come back and to see them and to hug them and to have dinner last night was it was a real gift to me.
Well, you know, speaking of big world, I always like, to the people I care about, especially with my wife, when I end a conversation with her, I don't end it like fully. I tell her that I leave a cliffhanger for tomorrow so I can have something to be able to return to. So it's amazing of you to say that you actually like left those things to be able to actually communicate with the people that you've already met here.
Well, yeah, it's very profound. I mean, the last time I was here was 11 years ago, and they were young filmmakers, and now they are, well, one of them has an 8-year-old daughter. He was young then. I could never have really imagined him as a father at this point.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, I could, but you know, this is how life goes on. Another one has a very big presence in a documentary. You know, he's representing Iraqi films around the world. He goes to the international festivals. Amazing. So I've seen great progress, and life goes on, and we grow into bigger roles.
It sure does. So now it's a little bit of a personal question. What got you into filmmaking, you as Bill?
Wow. I wasn't expecting that answer. Now I have to, that question. It's
know.
not that I need to be prepared. Without getting into too much into the weeds.
I just want what started it, like that spark you had.
You know, it's very interesting. I grew up in a different era in a country part of New York State. That's where I had my childhood, where there were no movie theaters. And I saw very few movies when I was a child. And we lived in a place that didn't really have television. We were in the mountains, and the television was very bad, and I couldn't watch it. So I only developed an interest in films when I got older. And it was kind of accidental. I was working in the theater, and then I got an opportunity suddenly to work on some films, and I thought I had a background as a photographer. I was always interested in photography as a young guy. And all of a sudden, this was a different way to take the photographic skills. But to cut the story short, or shorter, I loved making documentaries, because documentaries, you're always learning about something. Every film is about something.
Exactly, yeah.
A dramatic film not necessarily is about anything. Sometimes it's just about a romance or comedy. But a documentary, everyone, you're learning something. It's like taking a college course. And I love to travel, and I've had this amazing opportunity to travel that I could never, and to meet people. The documentaries, you meet people you would never come across in your life. Mm-hmm. And when I was in college, I studied anthropology. And I think that documentary filmmaking is really like anthropology. You are going into some other culture, some other person's life in a way, and it's a lot of the same skills.
Mm-hmm. So lastly, and not really the last thing that we're going to say.
Next.
Yeah, next. Because I have something that I want personally, right?
Okay.
So what advice would you give to aspiring filmmakers in Iraq who want to break into the international film industry?
That's actually an easy answer.
Really?
Because in some ways, the access to information is easier than it's ever been. And the access to the equipment you need has never been easier. You can make a great film just with your mobile phone at this point. Right. When I was starting out, it cost so much just to buy the film, and the cameras were so expensive. You had to borrow. There weren't that many to get out there. The means of getting into the industry were so hard. So to answer your question, this is a really good time. Watch as many video, watch as many films as you can. I mean, in those days, you couldn't see an older film. The film, there was no videotape. There was nothing, you would have to go to a movie theater to see a movie. So there were these legendary films that you maybe never saw. Now, every film that's ever been made is at your fingertips. Watch the films, see which ones get you excited, which ones tell the stories that you want. After that, in terms of learning the skills, there are tons of instructional videos on YouTube. There's all these, you don't need to go to film school, whereas in the past, you would have to go to film school just to get your hands on a camera. Now, everything is out there, everything is there. And the next piece of advice I would give is work on every project you possibly can. If someone says, help me on this, go work with them on it. Just see how it's done. Probably the hardest thing to learn if you're going to make a dramatic film is how to work with actors. So being around actors, watching them work, see how they think, see how they operate, see how to create a safe space for them to do what they need to do, which is magic. Actually, an actor is really, that's the magic. If you can't get an actor to be in that role, then your film is never going to work out right.
Yeah, exactly.
So learn as much as you can in all these different areas and make experiments and just start making films as much as you can. And I guess I don't want to say the final, but a very important part of it is the more specific and personal your film is, the more universal it will be. It sounds like it sounds kind of oxymoronic, but it really is. The more personal, the more details you can put in your film, that's the more that people will relate to it. They will relate to the character, the problems the character is having, the obstacles they're facing. So tell your truth. Be as truthful as you can in these films, even if it may, obviously don't hurt other people by telling their stories and ruining their lives. But be as truthful as you can, and people will respond to your films.
Well, you guys, you heard it. Just go ahead, start. It's YouTube, basically. YouTube, everything is
TikTok,
on YouTube.
Yeah.
So now, that's the thing that I wanted to ask. So we have those breaks in our radio station, and there is that, what do you call it? Instant players. And there's this sound of Radio 1, the best radio station on the planet. I want you to say that in Greek, if you may.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because maybe if you would allow us, maybe we'd use that and we would leave it on the radio station. So
Radio 1, 95.7 FM. Ο καλύτερος σταθμός της γης.
All right, we got it. I don't think
that's Earth's greatest.
I don't think you're gonna need.
Okay.
I don't think you're gonna need another take.
All right,
so I think that wraps it up. Thank you so much for answering those questions.
This was a lot of fun.
Well, it is. I wish that we had more questions that we can go.
If there's a link to
it,
let me know the link at some point. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you for taking the time.
So guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you so much, Bill, for the amazing answers.
Let me thank you one more time.
Yeah,
okay,
sure. Go
just
ahead.
in a different way. I just want to say thank you for shining some light on this program. And I just want to say that this has been a great series of workshops here. I've been very impressed by not just the interest, but the excitement and the passion of the participants. I call them students. Some are just students of life, or just the people who came to these workshops were really engaged, and the questions were great, and it was a great experience.
Well, it's amazing, and it's a pleasure to have you here.
Okay.
So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Okay.